Year's Eve, so we brought back one of our favorite oldies to end the year. It's just this way at the Dim Carnival.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Dim Carnival. I'm Bill.
I'm Steve.
I'm Ryan.
And I'm VRon.
And we're back. And we're doing a little bit of a different type of show this time around. We have finished the, of course, classic, iconic, Twiztid 2-volume concept album, ? 2 albums, Mansmith and Mutant. And now we're going to talk about them. But we've already talked about them at length. So what we wanted to do is last time we had Vera on the show, we wanted to have her come back to talk about these albums that she's been super into for, however many years it's been since the albums have come out. So, yeah, we're going to do that now. We're just going to basically recap, Veron's highlights, have her give us a little bit more like historical contextual information about, the fan base at the time, since obviously she was a lot more clued in with the fan base then, the fan base now than we have been over the years. And although Steve listened to the album at the time, I don't think Steve was necessarily like going on the message boards and looking up what people were saying about it. I think he just formed his own conclusions. I could be wrong there, Steve, but anyway, that's basically what the situation is. Steve, were you browsing all the message boards at the time?
Which message boards were you on, Steve, in the early 2000s?
None. I wasn't much into the internet back then.
Well, that's a shame.
And a trend that continues to this very day. But so we're going to talk to Veron about the 2 Twiztid albums. We're going to talk to Veron about everything that the clowns have been up to in the months of October and December, because they took November off, as all clowns do. In November they rest. Let's get down to it.
So I have gotten to listen to all the episodes, and I'm actually shocked, especially when it comes to Mansmith, that you guys are pretty much on par with kind of how I feel about the album.
Oh, nice.
I thought for sure one of my favorites.
Steve's so betrayed.
I just hate everyone.
all my hard work.
No, actually, I love the album. I was actually really surprised that you guys loved. I'm trying to remember because I listened to them all kind of in a row. I was really surprised that you guys loved Off the Chain like that.
Yeah. Doesn't seem like us.
I love that song so much, and I should hate it because it's so gross, and it's just.
As I said, the song, the track fucking goes so hard. You cannot, no matter how nasty and reprehensible the content is, what are you not going to move your ass to this song?
It's so good. It's one of those songs that, if you're in the car, you kind of have this double, this question of, should I turn this up right now? Can everyone hear what's coming out of my car right now? But I do every time. So I was kind of really happy when you guys were like, this is just such a great song. I'm like, I thought you guys were going to rip it to shreds. But no, I when it comes to Mansmith, I'm pretty much with the way that you guys feel. And I think that when they sat down to do these concepts, it was a really cool concept, the whole Mansmith idea. I don't know, did you guys watch the bonus DVDs that came physically with these CDs back in 2005?
Oh, we did not, no.
So
I did when they came out. I just remember the video for Story of Our Lives.
Because it had, I want to say Mutant had the making of Story of Our Lives, and it had the video. It actually shows everybody flying into LAX in the LA to film that video. But if you watch the Mansmith DVD, they basically did what the same thing that they just did with the disc drive with Knotfest, in that they broke down everything that they had done up until those 2 albums. So they jump in about Most Tasteless and Freak Show, not as detailed as they do, and also not as bitter as they came off during that Knotfest, which was kind of sad at times to hear, because it didn't sound like they have as many fond memories as I do. But I'm not going to go off on that right now. But yeah, they talk about the Purple Show and like all the stuff they have going on at that time. Big Money Hustlers. They break down all the different Most Tasteless reissues. But when they jump to Man's Myth, like almost verbatim what you guys assumed the album was going to be about, they're actually presenting like this is going to be an album full of all these myths, like aliens, and they jump into like all the things we're taught as kids that to scare us, and the church and all of that controversy. And then you actually listen to the album, and like a third of it, am I being a little generous with even a third, actually is that. So I don't know. I think when you guys were breaking down all the songs, especially when you got to Mutant, and you were like, this actually is kind of more on the Man's Myth side, I think honestly, I think that all of those songs probably were on that album, but they kind of wanted to spread them out to be like, oh no, see, there's 2 volumes, it totally works. Because to me, like, none of it, I guess I just didn't care 15 years ago. Maybe I did. It was just like, well, I guess we'll just overlook that small detail, even though there's totally 2 volumes of whatever. But yeah, no, it doesn't work. But they got better at that as time went on, and I can understand, like, now watching that Knotfest video, I hate how bitter they were, because I love these albums. I don't know who said this, but the 2 albums they kind of just rip into and skip over 2 of my favorites. Well, 3. These 2 and Heartbroken and Homicidal, which they didn't even put the graphic up. They skipped over it so quickly. But yeah, I don't know.
Now let me cut in just real quick. You keep saying the words "Knotfest."
So the it's like a Slipknot's channel. So the guy who did those interviews for them, they have been, because they've been doing all these really good rock songs recently, they've been getting a lot of attention and focus from all of these. I don't really read them anymore, but like Loudwire and all those types of websites. So Knotfest, I'm not too. I went to the physical Knotfest when I was in California, but it's Slipknot's festival, and one year they had Tech Nine, so I know they're not opposed to diving in this direction musically. But they, for some reason, put up an article, I think when they released Rose Petal, one of the metal songs they just recently did. So after that, they've been on these websites like nonstop, getting articles and features. And then they posted this link up, and I actually just recently noticed that this guy breaks these down. I think he did like a 10-part series with like Ace Frehley from Kiss.
Wow.
So, yeah, he does like a lot of in more of the like rock metal genre, these types of they're called disc dives. I actually like to watch the Ace Frehley one. That'd be interesting because he kind of hates the rest of Kiss, but
for sure,
it'd be awesome to listen to him go into it. But yeah, no, so they were just pulled randomly to jump in, and the guy who interviews them, he actually really knows a lot about their history, which was kind of I don't say surprising, but I'm just still not used to seeing anybody from this side musically getting any attention on any type of mainstream. Still to this day, it's still mind blowing, even though like they've had, like, people have had TV shows and they've been on festivals. I guess I'm still stuck in the 90s where I'm like, oh my god, they're on TV again. Like, I don't know why I do that, but yeah, Knotfest, KNOT Fest. So yeah.
But Twiztid was on there, or
that's the interview that Steve and I have mentioned several times on the show.
Okay,
the disc.
Got it.
Yeah.
Well, I don't pay for that.
You should check that. I mean, it's like it's very professional, like VRon is saying here.
It's really good. The only thing that sucks is I feel like there's a little overcast of bitterness, a little bit. Like they're not as
Was
bad.
it bitter? You're kidding me.
What? But
Well,
yeah,
this interview was released like the same week or within a week or two of their Perfect Problem video being released. And so I think it was coincided with us also recording, I don't remember which episode it was, but we talked about the beef, and it was like, I think I posted about it on Instagram. And so I think it was fresh in their minds, you know, and it's really been a bitter couple weeks. Like this whole beef thing was not on my radar, obviously, until we started doing the show. And it's like with the ICP streams, they're talking shit on Twiztid, and Twiztid releasing a diss track. It's like it's a real sour taste right now, and I feel like all parties involved are acting real hurt and bitter, and it's not a good look on anybody.
no, they were even making digs at them during the stream earlier, and I'm like, my God, this is like they're gonna be. Have you ever seen the movie Romy and Michelle?
Yeah, of course.
I think
Yeah.
you know, at the end when they're like 1,000 years old and they're still like they're on that digital, one's dying and they're still flipping each other off. Like I feel like at this point, this is just how it's gonna be.
It's so sad. It's not a good look, man.
It is. It's. If they could just remove that, it sucks as somebody who grew up listening to all of them to just kind of be like, really, like you guys have such a very unique situation, especially fan base wise. And I'm sure a lot of people who only listen to this is like, those are like the two top, you know, groups they listen to. And they have stuff like I have some of their collectibles and stuff like hanging on the wall and everything. It's just like, and they all like absolutely hate each other right now. It's so weird. I hate it. It's so weird.
I will say that I feel like this latest Twiztid stuff is some of the most interesting stuff to me that they've done. So if this is what's pushing them to make this, because I've just really, really dug this recent stuff. So if that's what's making them motivated to do it, then I don't know. I'm benefiting from it.
I think Magic Spells is probably the best song from Twiztid I've ever heard.
Yeah, I mean that was a great song.
Yeah, and that's so. It's funny that you guys mentioned the rock songs currently. I'm glad that you did compared to back in 2005 when some of these were being released because I actually like Get Off Me. It didn't age well at all. Like listening to it recently, I was like, yeah, no, I could see why you would just if it came on loudly. While you were like hosting a party, you might run over and like turn it down or just hit like the next, like just skip that song like and hope for the best for the whatever was coming next.
I think that of the rock songs, that's the one that is improved on the remix album.
Yes, I definitely agree with that by far. That and I also didn't realize that two of my least favorite Twiztid songs of all time are actually on Mutant as well. Because while you guys were going through this, I didn't realize that I cut off the album before Mannequin. There's just something about that song. I just do not like it at all. It's so awful. It's
probably because it's not a good song.
It's just not a good song. It's so gross and weird, and it's not even like funny gross.
Yeah, it's gross.
They like came up with the concept and then stopped. Like
right.
They didn't like. It seems like the concept that could be a classic Twiztid song or a classic ICP song or a classic Dark Lotus song, but they like just didn't care at all.
Right. They got to a point where like, oh, that works. That's fine. Just leave it as is. That's good. And then the chorus is so boring. And then it goes to Note to Self, and it sounds so off key. And I was like, yeah. I don't make it this far, so I completely. Forgot about these, but the remake of Note to Self is actually my favorite song on the remake remastered album. I actually listened to that again earlier today, and I like it a lot more now than I did, I think, 4 years ago when it was released.
Yeah, the Note to Self on the original release is just like legitimately unlistenable.
It's bad. And Jamie usually hits those keys during his like he has some of the best choruses, even on other people's songs, but I don't know what it is about that song. It's just like, nope, no. I can't make it through this first chorus. Just cut it off now. But whoever mixed it on the remix album did a great job with it. It sounds really good. It sounds like some 80s hair metal anthem. But the other, my favorite song, I will stop ripping those albums to shreds, even though I just said how much I love them. My favorite song on a Mutant is actually Respirator. And it's funny, because when I first heard that song, I had just recently discovered, because that was when I was coming back into listening to Twiztid, and I was just jumping back into everything because I had so much stuff going on in life in general, moving out, joining the military, going through boot camp, moving to Texas, that I was kind of playing catch up. But these two albums were kind of my reintroduction back into Twiztid, and I didn't have much access to the internet. I had briefly read that Twiztid almost left the label, or they did, and they came back. So when I heard Respirator, I actually didn't think it was a song about a relationship at all, especially the faster version, the original version. I thought that song was written towards Psychopathic and Violent J.
Yeah.
So when you guys were talking about it in like a more relationshipy, like it sounds kind of abusive and everything, I was like, oh, I don't know why that wasn't my first assumption. And definitely listening to the remix version, that now that it's slowed down, it sounds more like it's towards a significant other. But when I first heard that song, I love the music to it. It's so fast paced. It's one of the much better done songs, or excuse me, rock songs on either of the albums. But yeah, I love they actually performed that live with Get Off Me and or a couple other rock songs like Darkness from Green Book. I got to see them do a full band set in LA a couple years ago, which was really cool to hear a lot of these songs live. Like I've heard, I'm trying to think. So I'm trying to piece some of the stuff that I made note of when I was listening to these. Is you guys just going in on some of these songs? So, "Fuck You" Part 2 probably shouldn't exist. That is such a bad idea. And the reason why is because I've actually heard them do "Fuck You" Part 1 at a few shows, and it's such a cool. Like if they're transition from one song to another, they'll kind of do like if you're old school, you'll probably remember this kind of thing, and they'll do that. And it's like all us olds in the crowd will be like, oh yeah, I forgot about this. That's cool. But the chant doesn't work when it's like a quick blast rock song. I don't know. It just doesn't work at all. The other thing that are you guys familiar with Black Magic? Have you ever heard of that before?
I mean, I've heard of Black Magic.
Yeah, but so back in 2001, Twiztid during they give out the Hella Wicked and the Fright Fest singles. Back in 2001, the Hella Wicked single that was given out on Twiztid's behalf was a single called "Wrong with Me," but it wasn't labeled as a Twiztid song. It was labeled as a Black Magic song. And this is in 2001. They actually planned on doing a side project called Black Magic separate from Twiztid. Now, that song, "Wrong with Me," is actually on Cryptic Collection 3. I want to say it's the last song on the album. So that came out in 2001. And I wanted to double check that. I was like, because there's so much has happened in 20 years. And I found a photo of the actual CD online, and I'd never noticed this before, but the font that they used on that CD looks very similar to the fonts that they used for the Man's Myth and Mutant era, the Twiztid logo and everything. Now, I don't know what happened after that. I obviously ended up leaving the label briefly and came back, so I don't know. When they talk about Black Magic, anytime I've heard them talk about that, they talk about it so quickly and, again, so bitterly that I hate assumptions, but I think that they had this idea, they couldn't go through with it completely, because I've heard, I want to say Jamie say that you know, when anybody brings up, because people like to bring up stuff that they said they do like years ago that they never did, like superheroes still comes up to this day. I don't know why, but when people ask about black magic, what I've heard them say is go put on Mutant, close your eyes and hit play. That is what we were trying to do with black magic, and we just kind of just decided to make it just Twiztid, basically. Like, we do more than just this. These are other types and styles that we do. So I wasn't so sure if you guys had ever heard that song. It's a really good song.
No, I haven't.
It's called Wrong With Me. The remix is on Cryptic Collection Volume 3. And it's actually one of my favorite songs. I want to say they did another remix to it on Before the Fam Volume 2. And it was in this like huge, crazy Fritz the Cat mega mix. And I actually couldn't place it at first. And I was like, I know the words of the song, I'm singing along, and I have no idea what this is. But that song is actually, I think it's one of the best rock songs they've done. It's better than most of the stuff that's on Mutant. And I keep ripping this album to shreds, even though I love it so much. But I definitely, listening to you guys break it down and then just kind of like breaking it down mentally with you guys as I was going through the episodes, Mansmith is definitely the superior album of the two by far. I mean, there's still songs on there that they still do live to this day. I'm trying to think of some of the other songs that you guys were kind of going in on, like the fantasy song. I'm not a big sex song fanatic. I'm not huge on it at all. I do, like I said, I absolutely love Off the Chain, but Fantasy was weird. I've seen them do that live one time, and it was actually on the Mansmith tour. And I remember you guys specifically saying, like, this chorus is so bad chant-wise. And it's funny that you guys said it, because have you ever seen a band? Oh, well, it wouldn't be necessarily something a band would do, but more of a rapper thing, where during the chorus they'll do like, okay, now all my people over here on the left, put your hands up. They do that during Fantasy, so you don't even hear the chorus when they do that live. Mm-hmm.
A wise decision.
A very wise. It's such an awkward chorus, and I as it went, the album went, I was like, there are actually a lot of awkward choruses, and I wonder why that was, back then, because they have some of the best choruses. Like I said, Jamie, his singing has been fantastic for many years, and I think Monoxide's gotten so much better too with his singing. Like, listening to them sing on those songs compared to what's out right now is just like so much better. They've definitely fine-tuned it, but I'm glad that they got to do the remix album, and the fact that they even did a remix album for that makes me assume that they just did not get to do what they wanted to like fully realize with those albums, and probably why they hate them so much, because I think Mono said that it was he the one who said it was such an angry time for him?
Yeah.
So I think that between them coming back to the label, and you really have to watch that Knotfest interview, because the way that they start talking about being on Psychopathic and what things meant to them, them coming back and realizing that they were kind of building up somebody else's dream and not their own, is kind of what I took it as. I could see why he would be angry during this era, especially if they weren't doing or meeting the expectations that they had set for themselves. So I don't know. It's very interesting listening to you guys talk about it with this fresh interview that they just put out. Like, what was it, like maybe a month ago? It definitely made me rethink a lot of that earlier stuff, and some of the lyrics. I'm like, they have been talking about how unhappy they've been, or for all these years, and I just never would have guessed it would have been like with where they were.
It's interesting because I feel like as an independent artist, they have some flexibility in the eyes of ICP. Probably they are giving these guys all the flexibility that they want, but somebody is still setting constraints on it, you know, and you can feel the influence of ICP on the project as well. I'm just throwing a bunch of my assumptions on here, you know, that like, so that must feel really frustrating to feel like you should be able to do everything that you want and be unhappy with the product. Because obviously it's not for a lack of effort. All these guys involved they work really hard. So if they're not happy with how it came out, which is really clear in that Disc Dive interview to me, that like Jamie basically is saying, well, it only got better from there, you know, that he's not super proud of it. Not to say that it's bad, but he's just like, this is where we started from.
And I honestly think, like I said, they still do a lot of the songs from Man's Myth. I honestly think those are some of their best songs too. Like Story of Our Lives is to me very comparison to We Don't Die. Actually, the first couple songs on Man's Myth are very comparable to Freak Show, with the introduction and then the first song that's a little bit slower tempo. It's kind of setting up the mood for the rest of the album. And then they go into a song that's just, it's kind of like a hype, like, I don't know if I'd call it it's not a shit talk song, but it's definitely like a we're awesome, we're the best, and this is why you should listen to us kind of song. So
yeah, I want everybody who listens to this to say Twiztid is the motherfucking shit.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
The Story of Our Lives is dope, and I'm sorry that Bill doesn't like the video as much as me and Steve, but I fucking love that video.
I'm with you.
That song's dope.
I'm sorry. That video is so cool, and if you guys have a chance, go on YouTube and find the making of that video, because I mean, when you realize how like Esham was there, Lavelle was there, ABK, ROC, Blaze, they all flew in to do this, and it shows kind of them having you know, the paint done, and just them filming it, and it looked like they were having a really good time with it. So no, I love that song. The thing that I loved about these albums back then, because my God, you guys going in on this album, I'm like starting to rethink everything. I'm like, are these as good as I thought they were? I'm like, why was I so obsessed with these? But listening to Most Tasteless and Freak Show for years, and then nothing, and then not listening to anything new up until 2005 when I came back in, this sounded so much like it was so much different. Everything was different about it. Like, I feel like I'd missed so much in between. I'm like, what happened? Like, this sounds nothing like Freak Show. Like, they're getting better, but I can tell that they're trying to move in a different direction. You know, like, it made me want to go back. And I think that even compared to Mirror Mirror, the thing I like about Twiztid the most is nothing sounds the same. You can tell what song is what from a specific album or an era, and it's just, you can hear them progressively getting, in my opinion, better. I think these guys have just gotten better over the years. So a lot of people regard Green Book as like their Juggalo album, and I don't like that idea. I don't like the idea of somebody doing something to try and appease a group of people to fit a specific sound. And I love Green Book, but I could, when I heard that and when I heard the album, I was like, that's exactly what this sounds like. Like, we're holding it down for you guys. We're here. We love it here. At least I thought they did. Here it is. Here's Twiztid's Green Book, a Juggalo album. And then you jump to Man's Myth and Mutant, and it just sounds nothing like anything they had been doing. Which I thought was really cool. That's really what I liked about it when I first picked it up. Because I mean, I myself was going through a lot of changes and doing new things. So, to have all these different takes, from Twiztid, like, they're all over the place on these albums. And one of my favorite songs, period, is I Got 5 on it. So when I heard that kicking at the end, I was like, are you kidding? Are we doing this? And I think everybody did such a great job on that album on that song. And that song is actually what kind of got me into Esham, because I think that his part was probably one of the best on that song. Just, yeah, he's the only one who references Oakland. It's just a great song. But my love for these albums, I don't know, they're not perfect by any means. And I definitely can see how somebody could, especially today with all their amazing rock songs, and I do love all of them they're putting out. That Perfect Problem is such a good song. But to compare that to, oh God, anything on those albums, you can see how much progress they've made over the years for sure.
Yeah, I think the thing that sonically, musically sets Twiztid and ICP apart is largely, like I would say, at least from like Riddlebox on, ICP knows exactly what they want to do, and they have everything locked down when they go in to do an album, and they make the album they want to make. And if you pick up one ICP album or EP, like from one to the next, like they might try something different on an EP, but it's gonna sound, it's either gonna be like contained on that specific release that they do, and then from one album to the next, it's gonna be ICP and maybe like incremental changes or like changing producers, but it's still very much just they have a vision. They go into the studio knowing what they want the outcome of that album to be, and then they put it out. And I think that with Twiztid, there are a lot of Twiztid albums where they release an album or they put out a release that is in between where they're going to go. And they do it a lot, I feel. Well, at least like so far as what I've listened to, but you can see ICP's growth, like they grow as musicians, they grow as MCs, but you can really see it with Twiztid of like, you listen to the rock songs on Freak Show, and then you listen to the rock songs on Mutant, and it's a step further, and now you listen to the rock songs now, and they're amazing. But you can go back and specific releases that Twiztid puts out and say like, okay, here are the steps they had to take to get to this part now. And you can like see them get better. You rarely see ICP like actively get better over the course of an album, if that makes sense.
It does. They're more of a gradual change, I think, because they have such a specific subject matter. I don't know, like they're so good with their EPs. Like their EPs are like links. No pun intended to use that. Or they might be missing. I don't know. But they're so good at like when an EP was being dropped, you know, like what's coming next. Like you were excited to see, like I'm getting in a couple weeks because I did the October streams. I'm getting that Yum Yum lore of Yum Yum.
Yeah.
But like I'm really excited to hear that because I know that it is like the steps to the next Joker's card. You know what I mean? Like they're good at building that up. I mean, they've definitely, in my opinion, they've gotten better over time too. I know there's a lot of people who are kind of stuck with the first 6 and in the 90s, but I mean, I think that they've definitely, like, especially Shaggy, listening to his solo album compared to like the first one, or excuse me, I love the original of the Fuck Off, but Fuck the Fuck Off and Fuck the Fuck Off Motherfucker, to compare those two albums, like he has gotten so much better over years. But yeah, no, with Twiztid, you can definitely see like some of their albums have turning points, and I can't remember if it was something you guys pointed out or something they were talking about. But you know, like Man's Myth and Mutant, Heartbroken and Homicidal, like those were definitely huge turning points, and I love those albums so much. But after that, they definitely became more focused. Like, okay, we're gonna have a certain theme. We better come 110% on that theme, or we're gonna get called the fuck out. Like Wicked, across the board, everything, the merch, their image, the videos, all creepy. You know what I mean? Like it had a theme to it. So I think after that album, and it just felt very chaotic and experimental, which I dug and I still do to this day. They were just testing the waters to see where they were gonna go, and I think that album is definitely when they felt, I don't know, okay to do more rock songs and it be a Twiztid song. We don't have to relabel ourselves to something different to do something else that we love. We're just gonna do these songs as Twiztid. This is what we love. This is what we're good at. we're going to do these songs for you, and we hope you like them. You know what I mean? Like, we don't have to call this a different side project just to kind of make it okay. Because I see some of the comments online like, oh, they're doing the emo stuff again, even though they've been doing emotional songs since the beginning. I don't know where these people have been all these years. Like, every last song on a Twiztid album is usually a sad, miserable song, some of my favorites, but
They even have a sad Christmas song.
They even have a sad Christmas song. So I don't know where these people have been all these years, but yeah, I'm glad they've gotten to where they are now for sure. But it was a little painful hearing those recently. It'd been a while since I listened to those albums because I kind of took a break from all of my Juggalo jams, my Spotify. Yeah. What I listened to the most of popped up, and I was like, I really need to shake this up a little bit more. But I love them for what they are. They're very imperfect. It definitely, some of it does feel a little bit incomplete, but I can now seeing where they are today, I can see where they were trying to go with that for sure.
Yeah, like what you were saying about the EPs for ICP is like so on point. Like every time there's like a Joker's card coming up, ICP is like, look, we're going to take this EP that's going to be like a sliver of what you can experience to get people ready for it. And like, they're so good at like, just like leaving the breadcrumbs of like, here's what it's going to sound like. And now here's the full album. Whereas what we've seen from Twiztid so far, starting with Most Tasteless and like going through to these two albums, is just like Twiztid will like put out an album where like they're so on point, and then the next album will be like, well, fuck it, let's try some. And it's sort of like a half idea, or like they can't really land the concept or whatever, but it's not, they're not bad in any way. It's just they, at this point, when we've seen them in 2005, 2006, up through then, like you were saying, yeah, like they don't have the focus that ICP had at this point.
Right, and they definitely, like, they were trying new things. There are even, recent albums Twiztid have put out that I feel are like that. Like, Evolution, I like that album, but it has a very similar feel, and, like, we have all these random ideas of what we want to do. Some of the songs towards the end of the album kind of feel unfinished to me, but I see what they were trying to do. They were experimenting with all kind of different sounds, and there's a song that I feel on that album that could have been on, I don't know that anybody listens to the radio, but like top 40, like a pop type of song. So yeah, no, it's cool to go back and listen to that, to both of those albums back to back now, knowing where they are today, and just be like, wow, that was like, so this is 15 years of progress, and that's really cool to see, where they've grown, in what aspects. And they both have gotten so much better, and they're far more focused, and like I said, their rock stuff is so good and so well produced today. They have a rock mix that they put on Spotify, and I was actually, my mom was in town. She actually really likes their metal stuff too, their rock stuff. And you can just hear, like, there were parts where I was even cringing at some of the songs, but she liked them for the most part, and we're going through them. I'm like, wow, like, these guys have like ranged all over the place over the years, but the most recent stuff is just so good. And I know that they're putting out, so they just put out a new record, the Revelation album, which I love. It's so good. It's so simplistic, which they kind of did with Blaze's album, and I love that one too. But they're doing a rock album next year, a full rock album, and I'm very excited to hear it, because I have loved all the rock singles they've been putting out. So I'm curious to see what this is going to sound like, and honestly where it's going to take them, because these handful of songs that started with Magic Spells, since that song has come out, and then these two recent singles they've put out, they have been featured, like I said, on so many rock news outlets that, like, I follow just because I listen to that as well. But, to see like, oh, that's Twiztid's article is now on that. That's really cool to see them do that. So I'm really cool. I'm curious to see where they're going to go with this album next year. And instead of waiting a month apart, which I'm glad they're not doing because that was such a bad idea. I'm glad that these two albums are going to be like 6 months apart from each other. If not, maybe they might even save it for when they can start touring again, hopefully next year. But yeah, I don't get the whole month gap that they did with these. I was very thankful for it whenever they put them out in 2005. So I was like, oh, more Twiztid. But yeah, going from Man's Myth to Mutant was like, okay. I'm glad I got this second album. That's great. This is all right.
People clearly, like fans of Twiztid and Psychopathic Records, like clearly weren't ready for this because of how much worse it performed, like sales wise.
Yeah, I can't remember. So the only reason that I knew that these albums were coming out, like I said, I didn't have the internet back then. I didn't have a computer. I was just joining the military, so wasn't making very much at that time. But the only reason I knew these were coming out was I was stationed in like Butthole, Texas. There was a Hastings nearby, and that was the first time I had lived outside of the city, and all I had was the one coworker I was forced to live with, and there was a local mall that had a Hastings in the front of it. I was in Lake Jackson, Texas, and out in the middle of nowhere, and that's all I did. Every Friday I would go and see the new releases. And I guess there must have been a lot of juggalos in the area because they put all of Psychopathic's new releases up in the front with everybody else's. So when I came in, like Supervillains is sitting right next to all of the new pop and top 40 and all that stuff. And I didn't know any of these were coming out because I wasn't online. So I don't know what the promo was for these albums, because that's been something that Twiztid's been complaining about, for years, that Psychopathic just dropped the ball on promos. And for the most part, the promos that we got back in the 90s and 2000s were album inserts. Mm-hmm. So if you didn't buy one album, you were kind of out of the loop on what was coming out next, because that's how they advertised. Especially, that was the only advertising I got, not having the internet. I would buy an album, open it up, and on the back end of the booklet would be all of these new releases, upcoming stuff, which is, of course, there's a lot of stuff that just never happened, but you knew to look out for certain things as they were coming.
Yeah, it's so brilliant of Psychopathic to, do that. They operated on such a hustle level, so far above everyone else at the time. It's really phenomenal.
Oh, definitely unique for sure.
I want to give Stephen Ryan a chance to talk, but before we do that, let's not. Would you be able to speak at all to what the popular conception is of, what the reaction was at the time in general among fans and juggalos, and what the general consensus is of these two albums as it stands in 2020? Because hovering above it all and trying to do the research that I do, it's tough to really get a general feel of how people perceive these albums as things currently stand.
So when this came out, I didn't really have any other Juggalo friends. I went to the Man's Myth show in Houston, and that was the first time I got to see Twiztid live. And there wasn't any negativity. It was a party. I don't remember experiencing anything bad or, any shit talking or anything like that. So, at that point, I don't know that anybody was saying anything bad about the albums, but as time went on and to this day, I don't think that people like these albums as much as I do. They don't seem to be very popular at all, actually.
They're not. And so even though people perceive Green Book as the Juggalo album, it's still perceived, it's thought of more highly than these two.
Oh, by far. Absolutely. By far. I know that a lot of people that I've spoken to about these albums actually would prefer Mirror Mirror over this. They just didn't like these albums because they sounded different. And I can see why, if I was listening to them, you know, consistently going from something like Green Book to this, it's a complete, like, huge left turn. But that's one of the things I like about them, is everything's so different. So I can see why people didn't like it. It does not have a popular opinion. Twiztid don't even have a popular opinion about these two albums. So, but like I said, at the same time, a lot of the songs off Man's Myth, they're still performing live to this day, and people love them. Like So High, probably one of the best weed smoking songs I've ever heard.
Yeah.
Love that song.
Love it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it doesn't really have a positive opinion, it seems. Even I was talking to Rob about doing this, and he was just like, "Oh, they're doing Man's Myth and Mutant, those albums. God." I'm like, "Oh, that's right. You don't like these either. I forgot."
It's interesting. So I was just thinking, like, in this day and age, it doesn't even matter what album anything is on. It's just a track, right?
Yeah.
Like, so that's fine. I just pick the tracks that I like. But if you think about it as an album, you're going to think about the things that are different about it, or the things that make it stand out, or the things that you maybe don't like. And so maybe that's why people think, you know, oh, there's like 3 tracks on there that I don't like. And so they throw the whole album away.
I could see that for sure, because I'm still stuck in a full album mentality. Like, it took me a long time to break away from the idea of listening to all of these artist mixes that are. It took me a while to even jump onto something like Spotify. I'm so old. I still have a ton of CDs. I'll still buy them. I've definitely narrowed who I buy them from, because it just was becoming ridiculous. Even though the only CD player I have is in my car. But yeah, I definitely agree with that, and I do think that, like, people can pick and choose songs from that and just still think that the whole thing sucks. Whereas, like, when I bought the album, it sat in my Pontiac Sunfire for 6 months, just repeating to and from Houston on the weekends when we were in port. You know what I mean? Like I'm coming off the boat and I'm going into Houston to party, and, you know, I'm like completely whooping out my window to Off the Chain, heading into the lesbian bar. Like, that is really what I was doing in 2005. So yeah, I could definitely see that for sure. And like I said, for me personally, the timing on that album and just how different it was, and seeing these two guys that I followed, it was only Most Tasteless and Freak Show, but those two albums were so grand to me and so awesome that it was such a shock to jump into that and see how different their sound had become. But it was really exciting to also see how different they had become. So, yeah, no, I can see that for sure. People just absolutely hating these albums, even though they probably like half the songs and don't even realize it.
Yeah. It's so funny that at this point, we've probably talked about, you know, including this episode, we've probably talked about these two albums as much, if not more, than, like, basically anything else we've ever covered on the,
right.
on the podcast.
Yeah.
And the other thing that's funny is, like, while you're talking about that, I realized, like, while I can very easily, very clearly say, like, yeah, like, objectively, Green Book is such a better album than this. It's a very good album. Like, I'm probably for the rest of my life not going to listen to Green Book more than a couple more times. And, like, I'm definitely going to listen to individual tracks off these two albums, like, often. So
yeah. I could see, yeah, exactly. I love Green Book. Afraid of Me is one of my favorite songs in general, like, all time. It's such a great track. But from my point of view, you know, going backwards after I listened to that and seeing, you know, some of the, because I wasn't on message boards or any of the AOL chats or anything like that back then. I could see them trying so hard with Green Book to just kind of fit in where they were, and also, like, okay, so we're these dope ass rappers, and check out who we can get. Here's E40, which is amazing. But it felt like such a try hard album to me. It's great, and not to take anything away from it, but it feels like they were just trying to fit in with where they were, and I I don't like that idea. And ever since I heard that, it sticks with me every time I hear the album. Even though I love the majority of that album, it feels like it was done on purpose. Like, hey, this is where we are and this is what we're supposed to put out, so here it is.
Yeah, definitely. Like, even at the time, like, what I was like most struck and impressed by is like, oh, look at all the features they got on this album. Like,
Right.
clearly they booked a bunch of really rad, really impressive, like really credible people, and like that's a really easy, like the easiest thing in the world to hang your hat on, where it's like we got like the most legit possible feat you can get for a whole album, and we're stoked off of it. So let's let that be the strength of the album.
Yeah, and it's really impressive. Actually, when I bought the vinyl, so they re-released Green Book on vinyl. They did 2 versions of it. I think one of them you had to buy in store, and I picked it up at Amoeba Records in Hollywood. And the guy at the register, I still remember this because he just stared at it like, what the fuck is this? Like, you look like a complete metalhead. What is this? With these dudes on the front with like green hair making these dumbass faces. And then he saw the giant sticker with like Bone Thugs and Harmony, 840. He was like, I've never heard of this. Like, I love all those guys, but I've never heard of this album. I'm like, you should really give it a listen when you go home. I'm like, oh, I've set that guy up. Like, he's gonna be like, what the fuck? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
But I agree. Like, and if you haven't, you have to listen to or watch the Knotfest interview, because they talk about the E40 thing, and that is such a cool story. Like, I'm hearing them talk about how they almost E40 wanted to sign them to his label after they left Psychopathic, and Paul is just absolutely like glowing about this thing. It was such a cool. It was a cool thing to hear them talk about. But yeah, I love Green Book. I know it's a huge fan favorite. Everybody wants to hear that album like front to back live. They want the Green Book, tour show, one-off show. The weirdo in the corner, would rather them do like a mixture of these 2 albums and go to that instead, for sure.
That's dope. Well, Bill is the one of the 3 of us who liked more tracks than I think a surprising amount of songs.
Yeah.
So.
Well, no, I mean, Steve still, like, Man Smith is, one of his favorite albums, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, not to
See,
take
the
away
thing
from
for
Steve.
me with Twiztid was that I only really like Twiztid when they're on ICP songs or doing like Dark Lotus and a handful of the Psychopathic Rider stuff. It took me listening to Man's Myth to make me go back and appreciate Mirror Mirror and the Green Book, because I had those and I didn't care for them. But Man's Myth, I loved it so much that I eventually was able to appreciate those 2 albums. I don't really like any other Twiztid albums outside of that.
That's so interesting to me. I think it's the first time I've ever heard that. You're the first person to say that.
Well, I'm kind of an idiot, so.
No, but the thing is, I'm curious because have you heard a lot more of like the more recent stuff?
Yeah, I've like, whatever that latest one that, what's the latest rock song?
Problem.
Yeah, I don't like that, to be perfectly honest. I've tried to listen to it a few times, and like the video gives me a seizure, and and I just don't really care for the song. What I get stuck listening to Twiztid anymore is just watching the video for either Magic Spells or the fucking Kill 'Em All or whatever that song's called, where they're dressed up like demons. Like that song's fucking, that video is amazing. I can sit there and watch that over and over.
It's I Want to Kill Somebody.
I Want to Kill Somebody, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it so much I didn't even know what it was called. I don't know, it's weird. There's just something about Twiztid, like, they're amazing, and I definitely, there's stuff that I really like, but I don't like most of their stuff. And I'm just kind of a weirdo when it comes, like, outside of ICP, like, when it comes to, and Weird Al, when it comes to a lot of bands, like, I'll just, like, pick a couple albums, and then those will just always be the albums I listen to. And their new stuff, I'll be like, yeah, it's cool, I'm never gonna listen. And if there's older stuff, I'll be like, yeah, those are cool, but I like the 2 or 3 albums that I have, and that will always just be what it is. And Twiztid really is, I can't get them out of that level of how I listen to their music. That there's like a handful of songs that I will always love. I love the Man Smith album. I don't really like the Green Book album as an entire album. I just think there's some pretty badass songs on that album.
Yeah.
And I can't even remember what I like on Mirror Mirror anymore. But I know if I heard it, I'd be like, oh yeah, that song was good. But
Stu's a creature of habit.
yeah, I'm a simple man.
Simple man. It's definitely that's definitely the CD era kind of a mentality, though. I'm still there with you. Like I can't. If I listen to an album, I have to listen to it all the way through. It doesn't matter who it is or what it is. I'm like, I feel obligated to just get through the full thing. I'm like, I am old. That is definitely, I am old as shit. That is exactly what
We're all very old. It's fine.
Yeah, we're all old. I feel like that's such a special thing that when you can put
Yeah.
on a record, you just play it all the way through.
Oh, for sure. I don't have the time anymore at all,
Yeah.
which is
No, not at all. Not at all. I was listening to a full Bad Religion album earlier, and I was like, I'm that person. I pick one album, and I just have to listen to it all the way through. Even if I don't want to, the whole thing, all the way through.
I hope you've heard about the Bad Religion streams that they're doing.
Oh, at the Roxy? Yeah,
Yeah.
I saw those, and I love, that is one of my favorite parts of LA, and I miss it so much. So when they put the logo up inside of the Roxy, my heart was just crushed. I'm like, oh God, I miss concerts. I miss living in LA and Hollywood and going to those shows up in West Hollywood.
Yeah.
Sunset, but yeah, I'm gonna have to tomorrow. I'm gonna have to take the dive, and they're doing 4 of them for only $10 each. I'm like, that's quite a steal, especially with their
It's a great deal.
It's insane. It's when I saw $40, I thought it was just one night, but they're like, oh no, we're doing 4 albums or four concerts for each decade. Like, that's amazing. So yeah, no, that'll be my weekend right there.
I have a question for you. It kind of goes back to about the disappointment that Juggalos have with there being a split between, these two groups that seem like they were such loving brothers and all this stuff. So it's really disappointing to see the split. I don't know if you've heard of this feller that goes by the name The Joker. He's been around.
Yes.
Yeah, he's been around a long time, apparently. So, not to talk about him too much, but he's got this song and this album, Make Juggalos Great Again.
Steve's been obsessed with Joker.
I have been. Well, but here's the thing. Like, in the song Juggalo Song, he's talking about, like, he's going to become the hero the Juggalos need. So just curious, like, do you think that actually that's something that needs to happen? And just also curious, since you've gone to so many shows and have talked with so many Juggalos, do you think that that's something that would really catch on with Juggalos?
No, not at all. So, I know exactly what you're talking about. And I don't know if you know any of his history, like what he's done in the past. I don't know much about him. Like, I know a little bit. I know he dissed Tech-9 because he rude to him one time. I'm like, you have an off moment with somebody and you're going to write this shitty song about one of the greatest rappers, in my opinion, of all time. And that's going to be your legacy, really?
But then he even writes a song apologizing, which is hilarious to me. Like, people don't use.
So embarrassing. Like, oh God. The way that, oh God, this guy. The way that I see what he's doing. Oh God, I don't even know how to. My brain is trying to do like Olympia type of shits right now. What I think he's trying to do is he's trying to appeal to something. He thought he was going to get in with the Juggalo crowd. He is an old school Juggalo himself. I've seen the video. He knows exactly what jerseys to be wearing, like, from which era. Like, I know exactly what he's doing. As an old, I recognize these jerseys. in my opinion, he looks like the biggest asshole on the planet. There's no other way to put that. He has taken every one of the Joker's cards and put his face on them. And it's not it's like a $500 bundle. Like, what? I cannot see this man, like, oh God, I couldn't see him being at like something like The Gathering or anything, and just like he would get pelted with so much shit. I think he's trying to.
So you think he's like pretty unpopular in general with?
Oh, extreme. I do. I think there's yeah, too long didn't read. Yeah, I don't think he's gonna get over it all with this. I think he's trying to. He found that weird old bitter mentality and was like, I'll take advantage of these guys, because I think he's trying to go for the people who are more Team Twiztid right now, but I don't even see him appealing to those people. It's just
it's so funny because it's like to me, and I have not done more than a top level, like Stephen Ryan. I've listened to his stuff a lot more than I have right now, but. To me, like what I got out of it, like just like with the very base level, like listened to a couple of his songs and then like got just like the smallest taste of like what his like philosophy is. Like what it struck me as immediately was like, oh, he's like Juggalo QAnon.
I want that quoted and put on like shirts.
But he's a very talented guy. He's extremely talented for the level of, stuff he has available to him. Like, yes. He's clearly got a lot of talent and he's maximizing what he has to work with. But like, just like the bundle with which he's choosing to present this ability is like very curious.
It's interesting. I agree. I've heard some of his stuff. Like, there were a couple songs years ago that I was like, this guy's really good. Like, it's a shame that he's so focused on all this other dramatic crap, because he is very talented. And I know he's actually, he does music videos too. He's really talented, but I have no idea. Truth be told, I think this was just an attention grab. It worked for like a day and nobody cared about it after that. People ripped him to shreds online. I'm in the Psychopathic Museum. I don't know if you guys know about that. It's basically a Facebook group. It's like a huge buy and sell group, but there's tens of thousands of people in there. I might have guessed that one, but there's a ton of people in there, and sometimes somebody will post something that's like of interest, and I remember seeing that in there and I was like, what is this guy doing now? And I watched the video and I understand what he's saying. It's the most ridiculous shit on the planet. It's like, oh, we need to make him great again. I'm like, I don't even understand, like, what if you went 90s ICP, it's there. Go this goddamn riddle box. You know what I mean? Like, they're not gonna, you can't recreate something from now 25 years ago. Like, I don't understand what you're doing. I think it was a pure, as with the other stuff that he's released in the past, I think it was a pure attention grab, and it just fell flat with people. He was getting, like, people were just flaming his ass. Like, why is he doing this? I'm actually kind of surprised that I don't know if ICP even knows that he's doing this. I mean, he literally took all of Shaggy's, like all of the Joker's cards, and just made himself each Joker's card. It's so disrespectful, but I give him credit for being ballsy as hell to do that.
What the thing that, like, because I definitely like what has happened with other stuff that I do. I poor Bill and Ryan. I start like rage hate watching videos, and then I end up liking them, and that's what happened with this Joker fella. Where
it's happened to me with Mutant.
Where, I'm watching this video. The first time I saw a Juggalo song, I was just like, what the fuck? Like, how dare they? How dare this person do this? And, but the thing is I've only, like, I went back and listened to some old songs, and most of them are awful. But there's like one called like I gave my all, something like that, which is just an amazing song, funny video. And then that's it. And I just like, I see the potential of like what a great artist he could be. But a lot of his music's just really boring to me. Then like Juggalo's songs started to grow on me because I don't know, it's a good song and it's a fun video. They're totally like, he's trying to like recreate, Hocus Pocus with, the lowrider car and the way they're all riding in it and the breakdancing kids and stuff like that. But the thing is it doesn't feel like anything from, 90s ICP, like not even like in form of like what the music would have sounded like, or not in the lyrical content. And then like he's released another song off that album that I watched the video of, and it's like Children of the Corn. And like that is like the furthest thing from like Juggalo and ICP stuff so like I don't even understand like why he's like using that imagery and then not even recreating ICP. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so the Children of the Corn, is that supposed to be like a corn reference?
They're just riding bicycles. It's kind of like, they're like riding
They're a
bicycles
bike gang. It doesn't have anything to do with corn.
Yeah, and like, and then I guess they go to a corn maze because they're like clearly like somewhere in Southern California riding around on bicycles, and then they kind of make the corn maze be like a House of Horrors or something, where they like kind of vaguely reference that they're going to kill you in the corn and then they're going to throw their bikes over the fence and run away so they can't get caught. So
I thought it was just that they get their bike gang and they go ride their bikes in places where they're not supposed to go because they're the Children of the Corn. It's like their bike gang,
Yeah, I don't know. I just want
ICP to make a song now where the whole point is threatening to throw someone's bike over the fence.
Oh my! So I just pulled it up on YouTube, and like the screen grab that they use for this is like the best thing I've ever seen. I'm definitely listening to this after we're done because
it's really melodramatic for no reason.
Yeah.
I'm excited and horrified at the same time.
But I love it. I'm just gonna say,
that's
it's
a
like,
bad one. I can't go with you on
it's
that.
like offensive to every aspect of what you want in entertainment, and but they're doing some pretty nifty bicycle tricks.
Some good bike tricks.
The best description I've ever heard of anything in general.
And then they're on stage and they kind of swing their arms back and forth. So they're not breakdancing in this one. They're kind of like dancing like zombies. And they got lights on their faces.
Good bike tricks.
I have one. Oh, God. And this was the guy who was supposed to fix all the juggalos, right? Like,
Yeah. He's going to be the hero that we need.
I do like that song. I like that video, too. It's a good one.
Now that I know that his plan is bike tricks, now he just now to me he's not he's not Juggalo QAnon. He's whatever that like guy is who owns a skateboarding company, and like he started the meme of like the do a kickflip thing, but like his whole point is to get people to like join his weird like church. Like I'm going to minister to kids through skateboarding and it's going to be cool. Like I was watching a lot of this guy's skateboard videos and I was like, really cool skateboard stuff. But it turns out he's just like a creepy weirdo Christian dude who's trying to like grift people. It's a shame.
You know who shredded the most? Jesus for your sins.
Mm-hmm. Jesus was shredded. It's true. I've seen him up on that cross. Fucking 12-pack, man. It was like the Hasbro Ultimate Warrior figure, man.
Mm.
Just jacked, got the obliques. Anyway,
I also don't think the Joker actually rides a bicycle in the video either.
I was gonna say he doesn't do any of those good tricks. I don't think it's really believable that guy rides a bicycle.
Well, I think he's like 47 years old.
Yeah, he's like our age. He says he's been down
Clearly,
since
you can't ride a
Malenko.
bike when you're in your 40s.
hey, Ryan and Pete taught me how to ride a bike again when I was in my 30s. So
That's true.
You actually forgot how to ride a bike?
I never was good at it in the first place.
Oh, okay.
He got
I learned how to ride a
super
bike
sick with it when we lived in NorCal. He was doing bunny hops. He had the Ori grips.
I only did a bunny hop one time, and that was hopping off my bike onto the curb when I started to fall over.
Hopping over the handlebars onto my back, yes. I'm so excited about this video. I just saw clips of it without the sound on, and he is very much rocking a Jekyll Brothers jersey.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
it's the same one in the other one, I think, and his hair's grown out, or he picked it out in this video. It looks like it has stains on it because it's probably the only two shirts he has.
You're saying his hair had stains on it.
Well, his hair's stained orange.
Oh, I'm so glad you guys have brought this into my world. My God.
Do you guys have any other questions for VRon before we let her go on with her life?
So you guys mentioned, and I wrote it down because I knew I'd forget about it. Somebody brought up what the status was with people signed to Psychopathic Records.
Yes. And I just watched the shoot interview, which was very helpful.
Yes. Basically, it was just 3 hours of mad shit talking that some people had no idea they felt that way about them, aka Kevin Gill had no idea apparently that just on that level. But I think so when Twiztid left, they were given the opportunity to stay kind of with Psychopathic, but kind of do their own thing, but also please put the Hatchet Man on everything so people know that you're still part of, the clique or whatever. I think that's what they've given to both Ouija and Hoodoo. Very much not light, as you watched on that shoot interview. Dude, he's no longer there. Actually, when I did the All Stars meet and greet VIP thing for the Gathering last year, I had heard rumors about Light really not being on good terms with them, and Jay and Light were on complete opposite ends of area we were at. So
Light got off really easy on that shoot interview. I thought they had nothing but good things to say about him, but they were just he just fucking doesn't work on a good schedule. So he wanted to do a song with Tech Nine, is what he said, and that song was done by UGA, which were the Underground Avengers, who they're signed to MNE. That was an MNE album. So when that song was coming out, I think it was called Thanos. It was a shit ton of people. It was a cypher. And Light was on it, and something happened, and Light was removed, and then basically he just went MIA after that. No music was being released. The few videos he did put out, there was no sign. For a while, Light and ICP were inseparable in their music videos. All of a sudden, he's doing these music videos that are not affiliated at all. It did not even seem like it had come out of Psychopathic, had nothing to do with them, and he kind of just vanished. And I asked him, I was like, what's going on with your album? Because I want to say it's been 3.5 years since he's put out anything. But he built his own studio in his new home, and he had just had a kid with his girlfriend or wife or whoever, and he had nothing but great things to say, but I could tell that he was also being very selective with what he was saying. Mm-hmm. So when they did the shoot interview and someone asked, what's the status on Light? They're like, oh, he's gone. I was like, yeah. Yep, that makes sense, because the dude built his own studio, and he's not trying to be anywhere near that. But he definitely did get off easy. He didn't have diss tracks or a few diss albums thrown his way. But I think Ouija and Hoodoo I don't think that they're on the label so much as they're just kind of running with being part of the Juggalo world and Psychopathic, and we're very much holding it down for you guys, but we have our own things still going on, but we're still there. We'll be part of all of the major events, they'll be at the Gathering and Juggalo Day and all that stuff. And they both were at the LA Juggalo Day. So what Jay said about Hoodoo was he said that Hoodoo's still here, but he's like he was like very effusive of like he's getting his own shit going on. He's about to he's about to like jump off and in terms of like he's making stuff happen for himself, but he's like pretty soon not going to be on Psychopathic, but he'll still be around.
I mean, that makes sense. It's 2020. Do we need record labels anymore? Like, I'm honestly shocked that MNE is still signing people. Like, I don't know. It's weird because it is the Juggalo world, and people are still kind of obsessed with who's signed to what record label. I'm like, it doesn't matter anymore, guys.
Despite like how, you know, whether ICP comes off poorly or not, like I think that from my perspective, it seems like they have like a pretty accurate take on like why Twiztid's so pissed, and I'm sure there are more reasons why Twiztid is so pissed, but like as far as the signings go, like a lot of times MNE, it feels like their signings are like at least partially out of spite.
Oh yeah. I mean, I was looking at, I was on their website looking at some of the stuff. They've been dropping a lot of really cool merch, and they released a current roster shirt, and like almost everybody, it's basically Psychopathic Records circa 2009 minus ICP. So yeah, I 100% agree with that.
Okay, but the Twiztid like October bundles or whatever, like if you spent $75, which was really easy to do, you got like the CD and the other pack of extra shit.
Yeah,
it was a really good deal.
I had to write down how many packages they owe me because since this is terrible. There are only three groups that get me financially at this point: Twiztid, ICP, and 9 Inch Nails. And Trent Reznor isn't very much releasing, you know, downward spiral fucking baseball jerseys. So I'm okay with him.
Well, now that Mank is out and he's done the score for Mank,
I saw that, and he just went to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, so I know that there's probably stuff on there I don't know about. Oh God, Freak Show hit its 20th anniversary this year, and that is the album that is my favorite Twiztid album, very much nostalgic wise, and the quality of their merch is top tier.
Yeah.
Like the money that I spend on them, but the quality of what I receive, it's like, oh yeah, no, this is definitely. I bought they're like hockey jersey hoodies. They were like $100 a piece, and I wanted to like off myself as soon as I did it. I'm like, why did I just buy that? That is fucking stupid. But they're like they're like stretchy material. It's not typical cloth. The patches are stitched. It's a hockey jersey hoodie, and it fits comfortably. It's form fitting, but it's also like airy and comfortable. And everything has been amazing. And every time I drink, I go online and like, oh yeah, spend $75. You want another For the Fam CD? Oh, do you want a collector's coin? Spend $150. I think, yeah, they're really good. They're really good at. They know what people will buy. They're probably best. Like in my opinion, they've definitely. ICP's been doing this for so long. I think they're just over it. They don't care anymore. As long as they're putting out something, they're like, it looks good, let's send it out. I really do think that Jamie and Paul are in the mix of everything. I think that they're down there, quality control, giving things a thumbs up, and, we don't really like that. What about this? Can we do that? I really could see them being like the captains of that boat. Like, we're going to do this. We want to do that. Yeah, I've spent an ungodly amount of money on those guys the last couple of months because they've been hitting it with the Freak Show 20th anniversary. Crushed any idea of a savings that I had. And then I feel like Psychopathic saw that. It was like, oh, is that what you're doing over there? Oh, okay, well, we're just going to release all of these things that we've been waiting to release. And it has been an absolute free-for-all with merch. My packages that come through, I'm so glad I live by myself, because if I was dating anybody, they'd be like, who are you? Is this Cards Against Humanity Juggalo version? You really ordered this shit? Like, yes, I did.
It's funny because it's like the Monday Night Wars thing where it's like, maybe these two factions like need each other to drive each other forward, like out of like, I got to do better than those guys. Because, like you said, ICP was those guys as far as like being on top of the hustle game, on top of the merch game for so long. And Twiztid had so many years to like watch them and learn from them on like how to do business, that like now that they have so much animosity towards them, they're like being driven to have the drive that ICP used to have. And ICP like wouldn't feel, I don't think ICP would feel any sense of urgency whatsoever, or like any sort of pressure whatsoever. Like they're cool with like Eminem now and everything. Like they wouldn't feel any like fire at their back if it weren't for M&E and what they're doing.
I agree. I definitely agree. I think even like musically, the one of the best Dark Lotus albums is the last one that came out. And I think because I know they did not record that together, knowing what we know now. There's no way in hell all three of them were sitting in a, reminiscing at the Lotus Pod, like, let's record the last Lotus album. No, that shit was emailed to everyone individually, but they all, like, as far as I'm concerned, I think it's the best Lotus album just because everybody was on their A game, just showing out. And I agree. I think that it's so weird because somebody outside of this, like, it's so crazy and chaotic and dramatic. Trying to explain this to somebody who has no idea would just be like, what the fuck are you talking about? But I absolutely agree. I think Twiztid is more powered by this than ICP for sure. I think ICP is just like, we've set our legacy, like we're now being recognized on all these amazing levels. They did No Jumper. There, people are coming out of the woodwork saying like, oh no, I've always been a fan of you guys. Like, you guys are legends. And I think that they're set. Like, they're just like, I don't want to say coasting, but I feel like they're at a point where they're just like, no matter what we do, like, it's all good. We have all of this behind us, but we're still going. So fuck it. Let's just, we're going to do whatever we want to do. And that's why these monthly things are happening. I just sat with my mom watching Violent J, Shaggy, and Jump Steady cooking for 3 hours.
Yeah.
I'm like, she was like, how much did you pay for this shit? I'm like, we're not going to talk about that. I'm to the mail. It'll be completely worth it. Trust me. But like, they're just like, fuck it. We're going to do whatever we want to because we can. Whereas Twiztid, it's all about perfection and A+ level, top tier. Like, I don't know if you guys watched that Freak Show, the stream that they did on the 30th of October. It was so cool. They did the full album. It was like a music video. It wasn't done live, but they recorded every song except for We Don't Die, and they basically made a music video for it inside of a haunted house. Super cool. And they're going to do...
Right.
It was pretty... You can find it on... I'll just send it to you guys. It's on YouTube. But it was pretty cool. It was super nostalgic. They knew what they were doing, but it wasn't, they didn't do it themselves. It wasn't through M&E. They sought out a company. They did bundles. It happened on time. Like there were no, there wasn't any. Yeah, I can tell who's been watching the streams because there's been nights where they have been over an hour late to their streams, and sometimes straight up to that shit. Like, oh, we're not doing it tonight. So I feel like Twiztid, and I kind of have always felt this, where like Twiztid is more professional perfectionists, Whereas ICP is just kind of like, it's love and it's family, and sometimes we fuck up, but you guys get it because, you know, we're people too, and you're people too, and we love you guys. Like, it's two different standards, and I really think that is why the major clashing has happened over the years, and it finally reached a boiling point with the, I think the Abominations pre-order is what was the breaking point for Twiztid by far. Everything that went down with Abominations is why they left the label, is my honest opinion. Because I didn't even know that album came out. And I mean, very much online, very much connected. There was like no promo done for that album. And then something happened with the pre-orders. I don't know all the details with that, but like it was very much mishandled, and that was infuriating to them apparently, and that was that last album. So
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
So what you're saying about and we'll probably start wrapping up here, but what you were saying about them being perfectionists, like, you know, however unfair it is, like that's the reality of the situation, is because like no matter like who fucked over who, no matter whether it's fair or not, like it's true that no matter what happens, well, at this point, no matter what either of these bands have done, it's ICP is going to be ICP, and at this point ICP has been around so long that they're now finally getting mainstream credibility and recognition for being like these innovators and for being like icons. And at this point in Twiztid's career, no matter how much good work they've put out, no matter how professional they've been, they're always going to get asked about ICP. They're always going to be the guys who got elevated because of ICP. And like, that's just like, this is the level at which they have to operate for however long it takes until no one asks them about ICP anymore. And it sucks. Like, it must really suck for them, but like they're good at it. So
it's just, and it's never not going to happen. I think I kind of wish, but at the same time, like, I love all the music and where they were inspired and what they were inspired by. I kind of wish they would have left at when they were doing Green Book, because if they would have left that early, they would not have been on such bad terms with each other. But at the same time, you wouldn't have all this history and all, you know, where I can see in a lot of songs now where they were inspired by the situation, or if they were truly that unhappy, or, I mean, the whole Abominations album, if you go back and listen to it, knowing fully well that they were leaving, it's very much written out in that album that they think that they're the shit, that they don't need anybody's help, that they want to do their own thing. But I agree. I really hope that at some point, it's obviously not going to happen anytime soon, because my God, these monthly streams that ICP are doing, they're just like hacking away. Mm-hmm. I was hoping that at some point they would be able to just be like, okay, we have a lot of common fans, like we might be doing different things right now, but you can't look at over how long? Like 15 years of being together and building this really cool legacy, and just like this, it is like it's dare I say legendary. Like, people are gonna look back at all of this. They're gonna definitely point out ICP first, because it was ICP who cracked this whole thing open. You know, they're the ones who put Twiztid on the map, as you said. It's absolutely correct. You know. But yeah, God, I just really wish things would have gone down differently. I wish the first through whoever, I can't even remember how this started. Oh, it was the March. It was over the March. Yeah. I wish that it wouldn't have gone down that way. It sucks. It definitely sucks, because now everything is super tainted. Like, listening to the new Twiztid album, I know, or at least I assume now, that when they're talking poorly about somebody, I'm just immediately going to assume it's Violent J. And they're definitely not shy about talking shit about them at all. They were doing the what's it called, the auction earlier, and Jump Steady had a lot with a bunch of promo CDs, and trying to think how he worded it. It was like Twiztid when they were dope.
When they were good, yeah.
You saw that?
Yeah. When they were psychopathic before, when they were good. Like, oh, okay.
It's like a freak show sampler or something. I was like, Jesus, we couldn't even get through this. Like, it's for the kids. Like, they're giving it to, like, a charity, an orphanage. Like, isn't that what Jack talking about, an orphanage? But, like, you guys couldn't even not do this when you're talking about giving money to a goddamn orphanage. You still have to throw in, like, Twiztid digs. But I did notice that Jay did not, like, he was saying, like, this is a dope song. We did it with Twiztid, and he like kept moving.
Went
and
right
I was
past
like,
it, yeah.
Yeah, like he immediately like jumped through it. So I was like, okay, I can see what he's trying to do. It's just like, is this going to be like what we're riding out on? Like we're still going to be like fuck ICP and fuck Twiztid on both sides. It's so stupid. If they,
I feel like ICP, like, because like, you know, before the shoot interview and before like the live streams and stuff, like I had talked on the podcast about like, I feel like Twiztid takes a lot more shots than ICP does publicly. And I think that I still think that's true. I think that ICP, because they have such a wrestler mentality and they know about like kayfabe and like cutting promos and stuff, I think that ICP like definitely picks their spots a lot more than Twiztid does. And I think that ICP understands, one, that fans are absolutely like wrapped up in this rivalry. Like we've been talking about it for an hour now, you know?
exactly.
And I think that they know that fans like expect them to address it on some level at some points. But I think that ICP is very much calculated and like now we'll toss out a jab as opposed to like constantly tossing out jabs.
I agree. I definitely like you nailed it with the wrestler mentality, like the cutting the promos and everything, and that's definitely what it seemed like in the beginning. I have noticed though that Jay, when he was extremely vocal about it 3 years ago, he now is the let's reel it back in, guys. He's the one that kind of like stops it and just after the shoot interview, I'm trying to think what episode came on next, but he actually addressed it before they even jumped into what they were doing. I can't remember what it was. There were so many. I watched so many of them back to back. But he was like, basically like, we're not going to talk about this anymore. It's a very negative, you know, it's not what we want to do. It gives off a negative vibe. We don't want to bring this onto ourselves, so we're moving forward. And I was like, okay, like I get it. And then, you know, half of Twiztid's album is going to be Fuck Violent J. And when we get this Yum Yum flower, it's going to be like, I think he said it's all about loyalty. So we know where that's going. It's only like, I was like, oh, great. So, okay. It's
right.
like a full.
Oh, and it's like the little kids, the tracks leading up to are like the little kids who distract you or like the seeds, they lure you into the Yum Yum flower that kills you.
I swear, if these little plants, like I see what they look like now, but if they have like little like spider web, spider braids coming out, I'm gonna just lose my shit. I'm like, this is it. This is what we're doing. Okay, okay. But yeah, as soon as they were like, it's about loyalty, I was like, oh god, yep. Yes, I see where we're going with this. God damn it. Yep, it's not going to end anytime soon. But yeah, we've been talking about it for an hour, so they all know what they're doing. I don't care what they say. They all know what they're doing.
Absolutely. So I want to make sure that you have said everything you wanted to say about these two albums. And I also want to make sure that Steven and Ryan don't have any outstanding questions.
I think I've said so much more than I even said. With the power of the White Claw, I think I've said too much, actually.
Steve's gone. Steve fell asleep.
He's sleeping. That is the best thing ever.
He's probably muted and then he lost his microphone and his beard.
No, I'm talking to you guys. You guys can't hear me?
Now we can.
There you go.
I was talking all kinds.
Oh, okay.
I thought you guys were just ignoring me. I didn't realize you couldn't hear me. Shit.
Dude,
we missed everything.
We missed everything. Scrap it all. We're doing it over again.
Steve?
Yeah, I know. I mean, I don't have any more questions.
Oh, okay.
I just meant like in the last like minute, I said a couple things and like you guys didn't hear me. So.
Well, what I wanted to say is that if I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure this is the first time that we've had somebody back as a guest for a second time on our show.
Yeah.
So I want to thank VRon for coming and talking with us. This is going to be our longest episode ever, probably. But I love everything that we've talked about. It's been so interesting, and I just feel so appreciative having you back. It is the holiday season, so maybe that's like, making me feel sentimental and emotional, but just feeling a lot of gratitude for you coming on and sharing your thoughts with us. And
I can say right now, you're going to be the first 3-time guest we have too, because like the past like, however long we've been talking, I just kept thinking like, I can't wait to have her on again.
When you guys were doing doing these 2 albums, I was so excited, and I was like, I need to at least get through Mansmith before I hit them up. I don't want to nerd out just yet, but I was like, oh my god, like here we go again. I'm so excited to hear you guys jumping into this album, and basically the way that you guys felt about it is exactly how I feel about it. And I emailed Ryan. I was like, I can't even remember the nerdy shit that I sent you, but I was completely fangirling. So, no, I love coming on here and talking to you guys. I can't believe we've been on for over 2 hours at this point, but I love talking to you guys, and I'm really excited to watch this shitty Joker song when we get off. You guys
we
are
love talking to you too. It's always a blast, and like at some point you're going to become the unofficial 4th member of the Dim Carnival for sure.
very excited about that.
Amazing. The other thing I wanted to say is that if my math is correct, it is New Year's Eve, ladies and germs, and we are leaving what has been one of the most fucked up years in the history of the earth. But what I have had happen in my life is that we said we took a break back in 2019, and we said we were going to come back in 2020, and I didn't know when that was going to happen or if it was, and it did. And I'm so glad, because it's been a really big high point, being able to do this show with you guys and listen to these records, and never would have thought that ICP would have such a rad positive impact on my life. So it's just been a really, really great year doing the show with you guys. So really appreciate it. Looking forward to next year.
Absolutely. We got more fun, happy bunches of music to listen to, and it's going to be
track.
Be off the track. But yeah, no, like if you're on, pick your poison. Like anytime you want to come back, let us know. If there's a specific album that was released between the years, let's say 2006 and 2007, that you want to talk about.
I'm trying to think where we're going next. Like, there's so much going on in these years.
We're immediately going to supervillains, but we got some, we got Axe Murder Boys, which we've never heard before, apart from the Holiday Heat album coming up, and we got Jamie's solo album Fatso. We got our first Boondocks album coming up, and then we got the Tempest. So
you know what? I very much like Mansmith and Mutant. I love Tempest off the rip. So it would be absolute honor to come back for the Tempest, because there was, after all the Joker's cards had ended, like the 6 was no more. We had done that, like the curtain had closed, and everyone just kind of felt like, so what are we doing now? And then they came out with those EPs, and then the Tempest happened, and it was such mixed reviews, and I just, from the first time I heard it, I was obsessed with it. Especially that album cover it's one of my favorite, with him like just completely unfazed on a roller coaster. So yeah.
Awesome. Cool. We'll pencil you in. Thanks again. Guys, is that going to do it for us?
Yeah, I need to go to bed.
We've done enough. All right. Well, thanks to all of you for listening. We always appreciate hearing from you. Drop us a line at dimcarnival@gmail.com. If you got any notes for VRon, send them to dimcarnival@gmail.com. We'll pass them along. If they are not offensive. But
I welcome those. It's okay.
yeah, if Joker sends us a hate mail or something, we'll forward that right to you. Thanks to everybody for listening. Check us out on Twitter and Instagram at Dim Carnival. Check out our YouTube page, and VRon, plug your stuff if you got anything.
I don't have much to plug. I do comment on Dim Carnival, the Instagram a lot. So if you see me yucking it up with Ryan, I think you're who posts on there. I love interacting with people on Instagram. Especially right now, that's kind of the only way that I'm talking to people, which sucks. But hit me up. I travel a lot. Well, I did in a pre-COVID world that I travel all kind of shows. So yeah, feel free to send me a message or anything. I'm down to talk to anybody.
When this is over, come to a show in LA. We'll force Steve to come down. We'll hang out in real life.
Absolutely, I am down.
You heard that, Steve?
Yeah, I heard that.
Got your ass.
Okay, so next week is actually our 100th episode. So that's special and exciting and fun. And so as such, we are not going to do our normal listening assignment. What we're going to do is we're going to look back on those 100th episodes and these 100 episodes, and then we're going to do our own personal top 10 lists of what we've listened to so far. So I know you're excited about that. So stay tuned for that in the next episode. But after the 100th episode 101, we are going to be listening to the entirety of Supervillains Furious, the one and only album from Supervillains. And I gotta admit, we've listened ahead a bit, and glad it's one and only. That's why we're doing it all in one episode, because we did not want to spend 2 to 3 weeks on this album. We want to just get it over with. So we're talking about the Supervillains album next week. So go ahead and take a listen to that.
Thanks everybody for listening. Until next time, I'm Bill.
I'm Steve.
I'm Ryan.
And I'm VRon.
And go purchase a gift for yourself for the new year. Maybe self-cleaning mutant.
What?